This is my favorite organizing product. Now, I've spent 14 years reviewing hundreds of organizing products, and if you told me I could keep just one, it would be this one. But last week, I sat down and asked myself a different question. Not what's my favorite product, but what actually keeps our home running smoothly on a normal Tuesday. And only 3 of these things are products. The other 6 are completely free, and a couple of them are even things I stopped doing. One of them took me years to give myself permission to stop doing it. So I'll walk you through all 9, and I'm also going to tell you what's annoying about each one, because let's face it, nothing is perfect. Now, real quick before we dive in, this video is extra special because it's a collaboration with several speakers from Get Organized HQ Virtual. And if you haven't heard what that is, it is completely free to attend. It has hundreds of sessions on helping you get your home and life organized and running more smoothly. I'll have the link down below. You just have to sign up before it starts, and I'll link the playlist of all the other speakers who are participating down below as well. Okay, let's start with the 3 things you can buy. One is, like I already mentioned, my favorite multi-purpose bin. I got these from the Container Store years and years ago. They've carried them for many years. None of them have broken. I've used them everywhere. They've stood the test of time. They come in 4 different sizes. I've used them in pantries, garages, my car, closets, shelves. The sky is really the limit here. And in recent years, other stores have come out with dupes. Both Target and Walmart have pretty close dupes. I love Target's because they don't have the VINs here, which can make labeling difficult. However, the downside is that it looks like they may be going out of stock. 2 sizes have not been available for a while, and I don't know if they ever will be, and I don't know if they're just discontinuing the whole thing. As far as I know, Walmart's is still going strong, but they only have 3 of the 4 sizes, so that's something to consider. Now, my favorite super affordable organizing item, these are less than 50 cents each, probably closer to 30 cents each, and they are called bead boxes. Now, I use them to hold basically everything but beads, but any small little item that you need to be able to figure out exactly what it is, they're perfect for those small cords. They're also really good for spare keys, spare puzzle pieces, little things in the junk drawer. Now, one thing to keep in mind here, make sure you label, because if you have a whole bunch of these lined up and you don't know what's in them, it's not going to be that helpful. Next up, my favorite label. And it's not what you're thinking. It's freezer tape or masking tape and a Sharpie. Simple as that. I just can go around. You don't even need scissors. You can just tear the tape, write it on there. It's dirt cheap, so I don't have to worry about if I waste one or don't do it quite right, and it gets it done super fast. Now, the thing to keep in mind here is that these are supposed to be temporary labels. The freezer tape will usually eventually come off, and also they're not beautiful like my Cricut or Silhouette labels or labels from a label maker. So I kind of consider them temporary. That said, do they have to be? No. My last set of temporary labels on my spices have probably been in there 2 years now. It's fine. All right, those are the 3 things you can buy. Now let's talk about the things that are completely free, and I cannot wait to get to number 9 because this is the one I stopped doing, and I should have probably stopped doing it 10 years earlier. All right, let's talk about my favorite rule, and that's what I call the 70% rule. Okay, so growing up, my dad had a saying that he would say, don't give first-rate effort to second-rate causes, meaning you really don't need to always do your best. That's overkill. If something is important, yes, give it all your effort, do your absolute best. But for a lot of things in life, they're not that important, and give it less than your best effort. So let me translate to what that actually means for how to run your home more smoothly using this rule. So let's say it's a random Tuesday and I'm gonna clean the bathroom, and 10 minutes later, I've got a toothbrush at the base of the toilet because I saw some dirt there that I really wanna get out. And oh my goodness, then an hour has passed. I have massively deep cleaned it. I realize that it's still not perfect. I'm annoyed, and the next time it's time to clean the bathroom, what am I remembering? Oh, the last time it took an hour and I was still frustrated. So do you think I want to do it then? No, of course not. So what if instead of trying to give it my best effort, I gave it a little bit less effort? And here's how I actually make myself do that. I can tend to be a little bit of a perfectionist, or let's face it, maybe a lot bit of a perfectionist. And so This is hard. So what I tell myself when I'm going to start the job is that I am trying to earn a grade of a C. So if someone were to grade me, they would not give me an A. They would not give me a B. They would give me a solid C. Yep, totally passable, totally fine, but nothing outstanding, excellent, or out of the ordinary. That makes the tasks so much faster, so much more manageable. I actually get it done and I don't hate it. Another example, stairs with that wooden baseboard. Vacuuming them should take 3 or 4 minutes, and I am someone who has the rare talent to turn this into an hour-long project because I'm getting out the dust rag and trying to get every little speck of dust out. If instead I say I'm trying to earn a C, I'll get it done quickly. Another example, I used to neatly fold all of my wash rags. They're in a bin in a cabinet. No one can see them. Now I just toss them in the bin and it totally works. Now, the thing to watch out for here is if absolutely everything you ever do, you try to only give a C effort to, every once in a while something is actually going to need a little bit more attention and a little bit more than a C effort. So make sure you recognize those times and give it your A+ effort. Now, my favorite, or rather most impactful 2 minutes of my day. Those are the 2 minutes where clutter accumulates the absolute worst. Could be different for all of us. For me, that's walking in the door. I think the same is for a lot of you. You've got your hands full, you've got a lot of stuff, and you just kind of throw it wherever. So whatever's there for us when we walk in our door from our garage, that is the kitchen island. And my pet peeve is when the kitchen island is covered in stuff. I don't want to cook. So just being really vigilant in these 2 minutes changes the clutter game in my house. Now, I wish I could tell you that I did this amazingly well. This is one I'm definitely still working on. Sometimes I do it pretty well, sometimes a little bit less well, but a couple things that help here. First of all, a hook. A hook when I walk in for my purse. It has a home, it's really easy. I'm pretty good about putting it there, and then I can always find it when I need it as a bonus. We also have our shoe cubbies right in the door. That means, I'll be honest, I should pick up my shoes and put them in the cubby, but a lot of times I at least kick them off toward the cubby so they're not in the middle of the floor. Another thing, papers, just things you have in your hand. One thing that helps a lot here is if everybody is just tossing their papers somewhere, that's where the basket for the papers goes. And so it's gonna be really easy. They're not changing a habit at all. You're already tossing them here, you just have a basket for them. The thing to keep in mind here is you're gonna need to pay attention for the next week or so and try to identify those times when clutter is most likely to accumulate and see what you can put in place to stop it before it happens. My favorite super simple trick, like all of these, doesn't cost a dime and takes maybe 5 extra seconds. And that has to do with reminders. So many of us probably put a reminder in our phone to do whatever it is we need to do, return the library books, cancel before the next subscription is taken out, things like that. And I used to do that. The problem is I would ignore the reminders. They would come up and I was busy and I was like, oh, I'll deal with it later. I'll snooze it. I'll come back to it. And then often I wouldn't get back to it and it would cost me. The library book would be late. I'd have to pay another month of Netflix that I wasn't even watching. Here's what I do. Instead of just saying cancel Netflix, I say cancel Netflix or be charged $17 for something I'm not even going to use. So I just take another 20 seconds to say what the consequence of not doing that would be. Or return the library books, or they will be late and you might get fined. Or return the library books, or you'll be really embarrassed when you have to take them in late. So just something as simple as giving myself the consequence. Now when I see that reminder, it feels a little bit more urgent and I'm far less likely to just dismiss it and not get it done. The thing to keep in mind here is to be nice to yourself, okay? I am not berating myself. I'm not trying to make myself feel bad. I am just trying to spur myself into action by stating the consequence of not paying attention to the reminder. Let's talk about my favorite decision. So a couple years ago, I decided I was sick and tired of trying to match my kids' socks because inevitably, even though I was kind of trying to buy similar socks, they had a stripe of a certain color, and I cannot stand to put two different colors together. And then inevitably, like, it didn't have the mate, and so then it would have to sit off to the side for a while, and eventually I would find it, but it seems like right after I finally threw it away and thought I would never find it, then the other one shows up, and you know the drill, and I hate matching socks. So here's what I did. I went on Amazon and I got each kid, my daughter has white ones, my son has black ones. I got them socks that are exactly the same. So they have like 15 pairs of socks. They're all exactly the same. I don't even match them. Just toss them in the drawer, grab out two when you're ready, and they are good to go. This one decision has saved us so much time. The biggest downside here is that you are gonna have to get rid of the socks that you already have. I would highly recommend go ahead and get rid of them. Don't save them just in case. Now, if your kids are growing and they're ready for different socks, that might be a good time to do it. We're gonna have to get rid of the old socks anyway. Now I want to talk about my favorite, or rather my most impactful day each month, and that is what I call Clean Slate Day. So there's all these little tasks that tend to accumulate that I'm super good at putting off. It's like it's a contest to see how long I can put them off. And these are things like making returns, calling and making appointments, or calling to check up on things, filling out some kind of paperwork, or figuring out a tax question, like what do I even do with this paper? I need to email my accountant. All those kinds of little things, they start piling up and they start weighing on me. So what I have done is I have set aside at least one day every month to batch all of these things and deal with them. And sometimes I do it even more often than that. And I do it live with you all. I'll leave a link down below if you want to sign up so you don't miss the next one. But I go on YouTube live and I let everybody know that I'm starting, and we all start together, and then in a comment, I let you know what I'm getting done. So this helps me stay accountable because there's other people. We're all working on that kind of backlog of stuff, and I have gotten so much done this way. Not only that, but it's relieved the constant pressure of usually what I'm doing is not doing it, but feeling guilty about not doing it. Now, instead, I know it's happening at this time, and I'm going to do it because I've put it on the calendar. I've told people I'm going to be there. So that's when I'm getting these things done, and it feels amazing to clear that backlog. So come join me. And now for my favorite thing that I stopped doing. I stopped getting up early and trying to be a morning person. So for years, I thought that somehow you were inherently more virtuous or better homekeeper or mother if you get up early, because you see all these stories of my 5 a.m. morning routine. There's books called The Miracle Morning and other names like that about what these productive people get done in the wee hours of the morning. So I thought, okay, I need to go to bed early. I need to get up at 5 a.m. I should be, getting my workout in, showering, getting ready, preparing breakfast, doing a couple little things, having my quiet time with God before anyone in the house even gets up. And this sounds great, and maybe it works great for some people, but here's what happened. I would try, and I would either fail and feel bad for failing, or it just never worked even when I actually did it, because I am not a morning person. Now, does that mean I absolutely cannot make myself get out of bed at 5 a.m.? No, I can and I do, but I'm never, ever going to be a person who's thriving, who's on their max energy at 5 a.m. And when I try to be on my spin bike or my treadmill by 5:30 in the morning, I wanted to stop the entire workout. It was pure misery. I didn't work out as hard. I couldn't wait to be done. But if I do that same workout at 10 a.m., I'm into it 2 minutes in. It's fun. I like it. I work a lot harder. So why am I fighting my own natural biology? And so instead, I finally owned that, nope, my biological clock is actually tuned to about 11 to 7. I don't have to be up way before everyone else. And the things that a lot of people do in the mornings to kind of reset themselves, give themselves some quiet time, I still think those things are great, but I do them in the evenings after people have gone to bed. So that 9 to 11 p.m. is kind of my time where I can relax, have some quiet time. If I want to get some things done, I can do that then. So I still get it. I just kind of think of my day as starting at 9 p.m. instead of first thing in the morning, and it totally works for me. So whatever it is you're doing that's not actually working, maybe give yourself permission to try something else. And the one thing I would note here is that don't just copy me. Maybe you are a morning person and you love mornings, so use it. Do what works best for you. And lastly, my favorite place for organizing inspiration and motivation is definitely Get Organized HQ Virtual that we host every year. It's completely free to attend live. We've brought together hundreds of organizing experts who are going to share all sorts of things from organizing, decluttering, meal planning, cultivating a better wardrobe, time management, all sorts of those things to help you get your home and life running more smoothly. And all you have to do is sign up for your free ticket down below. The only catch is you do need to sign up before it happens so that you can participate. So make sure you don't wait and go ahead and sign up for that below. I will leave the link for you.